Okay, let's do it.
What's up, everybody?
We're live.
Folks.
You know how we do it. Boomity boomity boom.
What's going on, y'all?
What's up, Clint? Weed and Wine is in the house. We got some
Oh,
friends.
Weed and
We haven't
Wine
gone
is
live
in
in
the
a
house.
minute.
One
Where's
of
the
our
pod
faves.
from?
We haven't been live in a minute. I love it. The Key of Life, Clint, and Weed and Wine. Those are live regulars.
Those are live.
Those are names we've seen live since the beginning of the pandemic. I feel
right.
like.
That's right. All right. This is Adam Manis right here. My name is. I knew that was going to happen somewhere. That's how we know we got it when it starts playing from the thing. This is Adam Manis. My name is Peter Martin, and we are here today because I've got some questions for my friend Adam, and I thought it would be fun. Hold up. Is that better?
Yeah, I can
you
hear
don't
you.
care.
just-
You
I
can
mean,
hear
I
me
can hear
either
you
way.
because I don't need a microphone.
Right.
We're just checking the comments. What's up, Ed? What's up, Philip? What's up, Broseph?
Broseph.
Broseph.
Isn't that what I used to call you? Gregory M. What is up? Clint Jones is in the house. We said that already, but we saying it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Let us know in the chat if you don't mind where you are. Don't give your exact longitudinal and latitudinal coordinates.
No, don't dox yourself. No personal information.
Don't, but maybe like the country that you're in, the city that you're in.
That would be
maybe
good.
even the neighborhood.
No, the city, and if it's a famous city with a famous neighborhood, we'll allow that, but nothing closer than that.
Right. So
where
like,
are you today in the world?
look, and I'm gonna walk the walk.
Like if I were in Greenwich Village, I would say Greenwich Village, New York. Right.
Right. I'm multitasking here. So I'm gonna say, I didn't say what am I gonna say? I said Midtown,
St. Louis,
Missouri, USA.
Actually, is this Grand Center? Are we in Grand Center?
Well, Grand Center's part of
That's getting specific.
Midtown,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, this is Grand Center. Yeah.
The Lou.
Warsaw is in the house. What is up, Warsaw? So I had a wonderful time actually with my daughter, friend of the pod, friend of the live stream,
Hey.
former
Live stream producer.
live stream
Yeah.
producer, Caleb. We got to be together for a gig that I was doing last summer in Warsaw. We had such a great time at the festival there with Christian McBride and all the fellas, and we had a beautiful jog in the city. It started raining. We still were loving it. Warsaw is dope.
Where's your hydro flow, Peter? You got to show the
You
folks
made
who
fun of
knew.
it. So we were recording the pod earlier, and Adam made.
It's
what
so
are you
good.
looking
You
for?
got to
What are you
go
looking
get
for?
it. No, you.
It's over the top.
It's beautiful, man.
It's first of all, it's a buddy brand. You know about buddy brands?
Is that like a
Like an off brand, like a knockoff.
Oh, that's okay.
bootleg.
I thought it was
We used to call them when we were kids, like if you didn't have like Adidas or Tree Torn or like the real deal, you call the shoes buddies, like
Oh.
the Target brand or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the generic brand.
Yeah.
Someone here is from Graz, Austria.
Graz.
We were just talking about that, weren't we?
right about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Graz when he wanted to go to the big city.
That's right. Let us know if you can hear us. Cool. I think that you can because you probably would be saying something. And if you can hear, we're going to get into some music here if that's
Weed
cool.
and
in a
Wine says
minute.
Hastings, England, famous for the battle that didn't even happen here.
Right. All right. If people want to see it, I'll get it. But otherwise, if it's
Oh,
only
they
for
wanna
you,
see it.
you can see it now. No,
I
no,
want them
don't
to
butter them
see
up.
the hydro flow.
What's up, John, in
'Cause,
Sweden?
I have this very tasteful open studio hydro flask.
I have one too.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
but the new one is intense.
It's bigger. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Ça va? Ça va bien? Thomas, en France.
Caleb does it.
Je ne parle pas bien le français parce que je suis américain. Je m'appelle Pierre à Saint-Louis, aux États-Unis.
Any French speakers get any of that? Don't understand any of it. Did he say anything?
That was a little something. Torchhawk says grocery store fake. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't Converse, Adidas, I mean, even
Yeah.
Nike. I remember when Nike was borderline buddy.
Yeah, good old
You
Bob
know,
Tyler's.
Yeah. The OG, like
Instead of Chuck-
83 Pegasuses.
Instead of Chuck Taylor's, Bob Tyler's.
Bob Tyler's,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, anything from like Target or Ventures. Big shout out to Venture over on
Venture.
Big Ben in Richmond Heights.
I can clearly remember buying some Transformer Ruse. You remember Ruse?
No. Oh yeah, Ruse, of
with
course.
yeah,
Kangaroos.
Velcro strap Ruse
Yeah.
from Venture.
Those
with
were really those buddy. They crossed over into buddies. Philly, what's up, Joseph? Philly's in the house. Bangkok, wow. Bangkok. I had a really good time in Bangkok as well. That sounds sketchy, but Bangkok is a huge city.
It's enormous.
It's massive.
It's enormous.
I remember we were staying like an hour on the other side of town. It took an hour to get there.
Yeah. You know what else is really big that's deceptively big?
Yeah.
That I saw a whole video on was Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Sao Paulo
Everybody talks about Rio. Sao Paulo has 25 million people in it. It's enormous.
I think it's the biggest, isn't it? It's either that or Mexico City or maybe New York, the biggest city in the Western.
It's the largest city in the Western Hemisphere,
Yeah.
Sao Paulo, yeah.
Sprechen de Deutsch 9. I need to learn some German. Kelly Martin does German lessons every day, Duolingo. She's all about the German. What's up, Colombia? Ricardo. Man, we could just come on here and do this. Would anyone like that?
See people
New Jersey's in the house. That did sound sketchy. It was very sketchy. Ontario. Oh, beautiful part of the North American landscape. Have you ever driven into Ontario, like from
Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan.
Yeah.
It's the same, but it gets better for some reason.
Different. Yeah.
Like you cross, what's that, Windsor, where you cross over from Detroit? Everything gets a little better. Big shout out to Detroit. Love Detroit. I'm just saying, though. Key grids. Hey, guys, there aren't a lot of resources for learning the key grid, so I've been applying a lot of Oh, nice.
What's a key grid?
I have no idea.
Matt, explain further. I've never heard that term before. Key grid.
Wow, Monterey, California. That's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Sorry if we missed some of you guys. We appreciate all of you and are excited. Tortog, as is normal, I believe, is in SoCal, Southern California.
That's right.
Out of the desert.
Well, should we
Palermo.
get to it?
Tommaso.
Hey, Jeff Clapp's in the house. What's up,
Jeff
Cars?
Clapp. We got drum royalty. What's up, Cars? Jeff is an amazing drummer. Typing is a more difficult skill for Jeff and many drummers, as you might know. So I got a chance to play with Jeff Clapp a couple weeks ago in Nashville. Shout out Rudy's Jazz Club and Adam, different Adam.
You want to talk about a feel? Jeff Clapp.
Jeff Clapp felt good, man. We had such a good time.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Horrible guy to hang with, though. But great to play
if only
with.
if only had
If
a
only
personality.
had a personality, exactly. No, we had a really good time.
Oh, man.
And if anybody's in the Nashville area, don't be afraid to go out and hear some jazz. I know you think you're supposed to be there riding
Rudy's
on those ridiculous bulls. Don't be corny. Go to Rudy's.
Also, Sabri, I see you there. Thank you for that. I'm loving the harmonic warm-ups. They have opened up harmonic possibilities in my playing as well. That's why we do them. We don't do anything here we don't approve of ourselves.
I know. I think harmonic warm-ups and the essential jazz etudes are some of the things that I'm most proud of that we've done this year, because I feel like it combines. I mean, sometimes you want more single-purpose things, but those really came out of stuff that we were both passionate about doing on an ongoing basis, kind of edification within one's playing in terms of feel, ergonomics, as you like to call it. And, but also really useful. And, not a lot of resources like that are out there. So super excited. Our neighbors to the south, Arkansas.
Peter, let's get to it today, man.
No, let's just keep reading this. Ronnie Scott's. They killed it. Who was?
Domi and JD Beck.
Oh, okay. That would be cool to see. Who was I just talking to about Ronnie Scott's?
Not me.
Oh, Scott Divine. Shout out, Scott. Shout out's my new thing. Shout out. Can a brother give some shout outs?
From Scott's Bass Lessons.
Scott's Bass Lessons. I've been shouting out a lot
Friend
of
of the show.
Friend of the show. If there's any electric players, you probably know. I think they only do electric bass, but you probably already know about Scott's Bass Lessons. But they're just doing some amazing things over there. But I was talking with him about Ronnie's, and I was telling him about the old days, which he kind of knew about. He thought he was going to be able to trump me.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he thinks I'm younger than I am. But I was like, no, I remember being there in 91 when Ronnie was still around, when there were still 2 locations, I think Manchester and London, when you used to play for 2 weeks straight. That was like the thing, so. Anyway, I've seen Victor Wooten live a couple times. He's incredible.
Thank you, Jared. Yeah. The harmonic lessons are so good for really just, again, opening up musical ideas. I agree. Thank you so much. That's great feedback. And yeah, Scott Divine is a killing player and a great teacher. And he runs a hell of a business over there. Scott Bass Lessons. Really, they have their stuff together, man.
They do. And the folks love it there. It's been fun to kind of get to know a little bit about the electric bass community, which is such a, it's so fun. I think as an open studio, we have this wonderful music, jazz or whatever.
We got a great bass community here. We've got Ron Carter, Chris McBride, Bob DeBoo, Ruben Rogers. Yeah,
absolutely. But we're all kind of tied together by the genre, if you will, or just kind of this exploration of jazz music. And over there, it's all about the instrument, which really hits a lot of genres and a lot of sort of commonality among bass players. What's the most common thing about an electric bass player? They can get gigs.
They
No
can
problem.
get gigs.
They all have gigs. Okay, so let's jump in here because.
You wanted to ask me some stuff?
No, I was just kidding. I just thought it'd be a good
good.
title. No, I want to ask you some stuff. First, I'm going to play a video, if that's okay with you. Do I have authorization for that from the creator?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Good, because
I
own
do need a
I own
cut
the channel.
of whatever you make on this stuff.
Okay, so that would be this. Okay, so this is a video that, Adam has been doing some amazing shorts over at the YouTube channel. And let's just check this out first. Am I going to blow? Be careful. I might blow out your volume there, Adam. So.
Okay, I got you. Seamless key change warm-up. We start with a goal of just wanting to get from C to F. And you're saying, Adam, yeah, well, I can just go from C to F. But can you do it in a seamless way where your audience doesn't even know that you're getting there? So first we're going to find a common chord tone. How about A minor? It's shared with both the key of C and the key of F.
Oh.
And then from there, we can maybe add a secondary dominant, a C7, which brings home that key of F even more. And from there, what if we added a 2 chord to that secondary dominant? Now we can approach that 2 chord from its secondary dominant. And then we can approach that secondary dominant from its secondary dominant. And before we know it, we've seamlessly transitioned from the key of C to the key of F. Do that to the key of F, to the key of G, to the key of B flat, to the key of E flat. You do that and you'll have a real handle on this.
And then it usually loops back on this seamless.
Right, I knew Adam was
change.
going to say that was like his most favorite part of that. Okay, so that's killing Adam.
Thank you.
And I have some questions about it.
So it's interesting. So people have been talking about the harmonic warm-ups.
Yeah.
This is like reverse engineering the harmonic warm-up. Instead of just giving you, here's like the prescribed ways to go.
Yeah.
This exercise, I actually is inspired by a video I saw Brad Meldau warming up, where he basically picks regions to go to and finds interesting ways to get there using similar things that we use in the harmonic warm-ups, secondary dominants, tritone subs, things like that. And
you stole this.
I steal
You stole
we
this.
steal everything. Nothing's new.
Let me call Brad
But
up and
it's
get an
a-
explanation.
It's a fun way to frame
Yeah.
the similar concept of like going, these things that we've been doing, but to like say, okay, well, you have a goal. You're going from here to here. How far back can you step to get there? So that's the premise of going from one. I said key to another key, but it could be really any one chord from another chord within the key or not.
And what I love about this is that, cloaked within that wonderful exploratory system that we can all, adopt or play around with or work into our practice routine in various different ways, is really just some beautiful playing that you did on this. And so
thanks.
that's what, and as you know, I was at the airport in New York when I first heard this and we were about to release it. And I was like, okay, he's really hit on something special. And I mean, then when I put together kind of the concept, I was like, wow, that makes sense. And what's beautiful about it is very simple. I know some people in the comments kind of tried to push it into something that was more complicated, but I think if you really look at the way that you explained it as you were playing it, a lot of times it's like the devil's in the details, the beauty's in the details on this.
How you do it is more important than actually what the concept is behind it.
Right. And I want to explore some of that because I find for myself when people say like, oh, I love the way you did this. And sometimes I'm a little bit like, oh, I feel like it's hard for me to find what it is. But I feel like with each other, we can kind of, I can maybe sort of guide you through what I'm hearing as some of the special things that probably just come automatically to you that I have the feeling that other listeners might be interested as well.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, and then one thing, this will probably be the most important thing I'm going to teach people today. I know a lot of you are saying like, how can you rewind? Check this
Seamless key.
out. I want
C
to
to
go
F.
forward.
Chord
I
tone.
want to go back
And
on
you
the
do it.
short.
Just wanting to get from C to
I
F.
want to go.
And you're saying, Adam, yeah, well, I
I
can
want to
just go
slow
from C to
things
F. But can
down.
you do it in a seamless
Adam.
way
In
where
a
your audience
seamless
doesn't
way.
even know that you're getting.
Right. So you're probably wondering, how do I do that? I'm going to show you right now. The regular, you come up in here to the URL, what we call in the business. No, we can't do it here. Let's see.
This is so compelling, by the way.
No, I'm telling you, people. Okay, so this
Seamless
is how it
key
shows
change
up on
warm-up.
your
We
phone
start with the goal of just wanting to
or
get
on
from
the
C to F.
desktop, right?
you're-
And you can pause it, but you can't rewind it or anything. So this is the trick if you want to be able to rewind, fast forward, do all the things that you can normally do on YouTube. Slow it down, get captions and everything. You come up here to the URL. You know what a URL stands for?
Please go in a detailed description of what a URL stands for, Peter.
I don't know.
While we
I'm-
got-
no, I
while
was
we got
asking.
everybody's
I'm
attention.
asking
I
you.
do. Well, it's just the stuff in the bar where
No,
people go,
what does it stand for? URL.
universal.
Good.
Something.
I don't know either. That's not what we're here for. Okay, so you see how it says here, this is small, but it says youtube.com/shorts/ the, jumbled letters, the unique identifier. Highlight shorts, right?
Yep.
And then replace shorts with watch. Boom. And then it shows up in this player,
Seamless, the old regular
which
player.
gives you all the things. So that's your first
That's
kind
very
of little.
cool. Can I address one thing that our dear friend Mood Indigo, who's been around these lives as well for a long time, says? In this situation where we're going, the F still feels like the 4 chord, which, yes, Mood Indigo, I agree. If you're going to the 4 chord or if you're going to the 5 chord, especially if you're changing keys to those things, those are the most difficult to feel like a new key because they're so close to the original key of C. And we have 60 seconds here, so I didn't have time to explain that once you get there, however you get there, once you're here to the 4, it's going to sound like a 4 ready to go back to C unless you establish it.
Yeah.
So I was just talking about a way to get there, but once you get to that 4 chord, you then have to establish it with chord changes, melodies that are in that key.
Right.
It's easier to do if you're going to say like
E flat.
the key of D even, like that feels like a new key.
But this is a really specific thing that we want to work on and learn when you're staying like everything. A lot of different things we can do. Even when you go down, what is that? You go down. You never feel like. I mean, we know this is just like a little place, a little beautiful place that we're sitting for a little while. And where else are we going to go? But it's important to know that.
Making these things Mood Indigo, I was kind of batting back and forth. Do I describe this just going from one chord to another chord in the key? Or do I talk about how you could use this to change keys? I went with the change keys. It was kind of just what I was feeling in the moment. But it could be what we did there where you're just pulling back dominance. You could do going anywhere. In a key, changing keys, it works for both.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So if it's cool with you, I want to start some questions because that's what we're here for. So we're going to go back up to the top, and I have a transcription of this. Shout out Max Gamiz for doing that. And so we're starting C major, right? Now you're going straight triad here and straight fifths in your left hand. Are you aware of that, sir?
Do you have the transcription there?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Do we have the PDF? Could we put that in the PDF for in the chat? For
no,
people?
but we'll link to it below.
Okay,
maybe.
good.
We're you know what? We're gonna give it to members. I'm starting to gate stuff up in here.
Get some members.
But we're gonna post this over in the Open Studio community. But this is the thing. Plus, you want to transcribe this stuff, right? But we've got the triad, right? And then you go to the A minor. You're keeping that same, right?
Yeah. You're talking about the actual shape of the.
You're going vanilla. We're going straight vanilla, but it doesn't sound vanilla.
I'm just changing the root, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing fifths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that sound. It doesn't sound as good on this. We have our beautiful new Steinway in there. It sounds great on that, but I don't know if I would actually. It's so funny, isn't it? Like I don't know if I would play that on this sound.
I know
because I don't know how. I'm pretty sure I would intuitively like. It sounds okay.
I'm not even sure if you would play it on the other piano we have in there, the Bosendorfer. I know this sounds bougie. Would you play it on the Steinway and not the Bosendorfer?
Yeah, I would not. I would probably play it differently on the Steinway.
Let's go back and just listen to what you did again here.
Where your audience doesn't even know that you're getting there. So first we're going to find a common chord tone. How about A minor?
Okay, did you check out what else he's doing here? So it sounds like you're playing.
Yeah.
But I can see your pin, and I know why. You are playing that pinky, but you're voicing that bad boy way back.
It's way back.
Which is killing,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Even know that you're getting there. So first we're going to find a common chord tone.
Like if I just heard that and couldn't see it, I would think you're doing that.
Yeah, so that's the literal meaning of voicing, which isn't a voicing like a chord structure, but voicing the chords you're playing by bringing out certain notes and taking certain notes down.
Right, right.
And again, very easy to do on that Steinway B. Very hard to do here.
Very hard to do, right. And because it's on top, you have to pull it way back. We have a little bit of an advantage because it's your pinky, which is a little bit weaker for a lot of us anyway. Mm-hmm. But you want to really listen because that's a game changer right there.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing I think that we don't think about, but like great players do it at the right time. Now, we might say, well, why is that needed? I can't tell you that. I don't know if you can tell me that, but it sounds really good. And there's just like a hint. Yeah, it's impossible to do it on this. Get out of here, Hammer 88.
In a seamless way where your audience doesn't even know that you're getting there. So first we're going to find a common chord tone. How about A minor? It's shared with both the key of C and the key of F. And then from there.
So what you're seeing here is, and you go tenths, I think, in the left hand. There.
Yeah.
But with the fifths as well. So we're doing a little bit of.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hear that little inner voice in that tenor region.
Yep.
That's some nice, interesting voice leading down and then up when you don't really need to.
I mean, one of the biggest hacks for voice leading that I've ever learned is you can do it without thinking about individual voices if you switch from closed voicings to open voicings. It naturally gives you good voice leading, as you'll just get voices that move in different directions when you do that, and vice versa.
Okay, I know you guys don't like this, but I'm going to do this. Is that okay? Because I want people to be able to see your hands. Okay, producer Caleb, is that legal? Caleb said no. Well, that's what we got to do because we got to see it. Okay, so we've got that, and then with knowing that, when you listen to this,
it's shared with both the key of C and the key of F.
You start to really hear
from
those
there,
voices.
we can maybe add a secondary dominant.
Now you changed the voicings this time, sir. What up with that?
Sorry.
No, it's
I don't know. I'm not thinking about this.
You're going C triad, same as beginning, and then you're going root seventh. So
What am I doing in my right hand there?
same triads, but you're voicing out that pinky a little bit more, I think now. Perhaps.
If I'm doing root 7 in my left hand, I'm probably thinking more 1-5-1. Is the E still in there?
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Check it out.
Both the key of C
It's
and the
definitely
key of
that.
F. And then from there, we can maybe add a secondary dominant, a C7.
I think that sets up nicely this, right?
Yeah.
So everything that you've done, and this is a little trick that a lot of great pianists do, a lot of like string writers do it, even for big bands sometimes, is you play with, we're always playing with tension and release of different things and kind of infusing some drama. And like playing triads like this is actually very dramatic because it's got that, I mean, I hate to say church gospel-y feel.
It definitely has a
but
church feel to it.
Yeah, it's got
for
that
sure.
like, especially you're playing slow, you're playing really quiet. I think you might even have the soft pedal on perhaps?
Soft pedal is definitely
Yeah.
on. And probably I'm gauging the soft pedal to find the good spot for each chord.
Yeah. So it's like we're really attuning the listener and ourselves as we play this to like, when you have those nice big open middle of the instrument triads and stuff can sing, stuff can come out, but we don't want to be cookie cutter and just be like you got to be the opposite when you're playing. I mean, Keith Jarrett killed it on a lot of triads by doing this.
And and like Keith Jarrett, if you want these to sing, dynamics is your friend. So I'm playing fairly softly throughout all of this.
Right.
And then you're going to hear how that can add sparkle later when you add in higher level dynamics.
Right. And I would say too, harmonically, now we're at that place because you go here, then you go. Now we've had some sevens before, but this is our first dominant.
What am I doing?
3, 7. But then you're going fourths.
Yeah, that seems right.
Right, and this is a very simple voicing, but it's a revelation because of where you place it. We're always talking about like not great voicings, but great placement, great progressions. How did you get there? Because we know that's going to journey us to somewhere else, right? And that's the first introduction of a lot of cool places it can go and where it goes. That's the first time you're introducing any kind of upper extension too.
Right.
So
The
that
9,
starts to like push things out a little bit.
Yep.
It's really good. Let's listen again.
And then from there, we can maybe add a secondary dominant, a C7, which brings home the
Ooh, and then you pull back, push, and then pull back a little bit on the volume. Whereas, a lot of times, and there's different things that can work. The idea with this is like, let's get used to this. Doesn't matter if you play guitar, drums, any instrument, but piano, especially where the dynamic range is so interwoven with, harmonic possibilities and just a massive instrument. Like, pull back sometimes when some other part of the music is pushing ahead.
Yeah.
So that's 5, 1 to the 4, So that's already kind of there. Volume-wise, pulling back can be a really cool sort of, I think, counterintuitive balance that you can add to it.
To be clear, when I'm playing this, I'm not thinking like, and push and pull back. I'm just trying to express without thinking. And that happens with a lot of practice and a lot of listening too, actually.
Right.
Of this kind of thing.
Yep. And then I love this part here.
key of F even more.
Woo. Little major 7th down to the 5th.
So we're often doing these videos, and you do these too, where you're talking and playing at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Peter, but when I do that, I naturally get into a call and response of what I'm saying, and I answer myself on the keyboard. I don't know why, but I think I wonder if we have two different language centers for these kinds of things. Music is just a little bit off center from English as we're speaking, and then like my musical language guy is like, you should probably answer that somehow.
Right. Cool. Oh, there we go, bigger. Okay, so let's keep going.
Totally speculating.
Yeah. But also, like, that's very different than, which is pretty too, but you gave it that little, like, that's really a blues, that's blues right there, right? Wouldn't you say?
It's gospel, it's blues.
Gospel
yeah,
blues, right?
for sure.
And I think it's because we are still within,
The sound of Black American music, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we are still within C, even though we're on the 4, maybe we're going there, maybe we're not, maybe we're going somewhere else. But just like on the blues, when you go to the 4, like that major minor kind of blues connotation is always there within the tonic key, within the 1, within the C blues, even when you're on the 5. Like you hear a lot of advanced blues player really doing that. Yep.
I even love when you do it. I feel the same
No,
way.
it's just, and also it's a great reminder to us too. Like play the obvious stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Play the obvious stuff that
play
sounds
from your
good.
heart.
Own
Whatever
it.
you-
Play from your heart.
Yeah, whatever you're hearing.
Exactly.
There, what if we added a 2 chord to that secondary dominant?
Okay, so this is great here because you're like, so I'm sure this is totally unconscious or subconscious. Like, you kind of messed with like pulling back on that top octave, then you played a little more. Now you're breaking it up as its own little independent voice.
Right. So, and this is a great tip for anybody. Voicings aren't just meant to be always played in bricks. So, like you mentioned, this voicing, which is just a C major triad, C and G in my left hand, and then literally that can be broken up in so many different ways to help keep time. I forget exactly.
Yep.
Something like that.
That's exactly it.
But yeah, that just breaking that up, and I mean, you could do that. The movement within the voicing itself can help.
Yeah, and that gives it a sense of direction, storytelling, progression as you're going through in a way that sometimes we'll have it our ability, like, so you came out of that, you might think like, okay, I'm going to go back to the C, but this time, I'm going to give it like that major 7, but you're able to keep that connection with what's happening, that beauty of a triad without it just being, with just that little subtle thing of breaking it up where the music feels like it's moving along in a really cool and organic way, I'd say.
The older I get, the more I want tonics to be simple. I want the fundamental of whatever key I'm in to be as strong and simple as possible. As a listener, I want that.
Right.
So like you'll hardly catch me anymore doing anything like that.
Right.
Or unless I'm really trying to be obtuse. But mostly I want to land you in a soft bed of daylilies.
Right.
You feel home when we get to home. That doesn't mean that, as you're seeing, like, and you do this too, Peter, the stuff that happens in between the tonics, whatever we do,
That's
I'm going to start really taking some risks, right? But I want to land somewhere really nice for you. And that, the older I get, like I said, that I start to even, I don't want to hear that even. I want to hear like, unless it's really part of the vibe of the song.
Yeah.
But generally, especially if I'm explaining something, I want the key to be solid.
Right. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to take it back.
Chord to that secondary dominant.
So now we've got the 4 of the, the 2 of the 4, right?
Yep.
So we got C major.
So now we're doing like a 2-5 going to that F.
Right,
yeah.
but this is a super slick thing because you've already introduced before, ninths, but now instead of, like that would have been cool, but you go.
Oh, that's a Peter Martin voicing. I stole that right from you, buddy.
Well, we love this, because this is that minor 11, but the note that we're kind of subbing out of your typical like stacked thirds is actually C. So like that's pulling back to that tri. Yeah. There's a lot of commonality because you got the. It's almost like a little inner ostinato situation.
Yeah.
And then now you're playing around with that same. And now you're opening. As you say, I don't even need to talk to you anymore. I can answer your questions for you. Like you said before. Now, like going with that major 7th is something special because you started here. It wasn't like. That wouldn't have. That's cool. It's got some stuff, but And this is a very, like, we have to find those times, I think, and you do a great there on that G minor 11. It's not only that it's the 11th and that's sub, but it's that C is sort of staying along. It's that you've got that triad, that F triad on top, which is really where we're going to the 4, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you just go single line in the right hand, right?
Yeah.
And then real basic root position F major.
Which, yeah, once I did the first time, it just was in my head that I would be, I think, doing that again. But again, not really thinking about any of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
This is really weird.
No, I know. Well, we've done this before. I've done it before. It is because you don't want to, like, I think it's important for us to, like, understand some nuanced things that are in our playing. And it's not just about our playing, that are in the music that we can attach ourselves to. There's nothing that we're ever doing that's really new. But it's like, how do we put something together that tells the story that we want to? And I think that those elements are there, but when you can almost feel in this video, even though it's that 60-second time limit that we're up against, not shout out YouTube, but the idea of, like, there's paid, like, I can feel you kind of listening to what's going on.
Yeah.
Listening to the moment and being like, I don't need to add a lot, but I want to add the right thing or take away the right thing.
It's so funny you mention that, because even making content for Open Studio, instructional 60-second content, I really take seriously being present as if I'm playing a gig somewhere and just being open to what's going to happen. Every time I do that, I think it connects deeper to people and I'm able to be more relaxed and honest. And it's also just a practice. It's a daily practice, a way to be, where you're just everything. I want not just when I'm touching the piano, I almost said every time I touch the piano, but really every moment of my day to be honest and present and straightforward.
Right.
And so that's just that. It's just always listening, always being open.
That's
Trying
great.
to anyway. It's hard.
All right, we can move on a little bit.
Please move on.
Now we can approach that 2 chord from its secondary dominant.
I got a little whiny there from its and its.
So now you're kind of breaking things up. Like, there's actually been a progression to, like, we're on the 4. There's 5 phrases to this vid and to this piece that you've really put together. So you're not only obviously adding the harmonic, that's specifically what you're explaining, but you're starting to arpeggiate. You're starting to kind of, like, less vertical, more horizontal movement, especially on the inside. That's kind of matching that in a really interesting way. We can think about going against it, or we can think about matching, or we can think about ignoring it.
Again,
those are all options that we have.
I don't think I'm doing, I don't see the sheet there, but
I do.
I think I'm just arpeggiating chords, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't start doing it actually until so you go.
Something like that.
Yep. So now we're on now we should talk about what you're talking about in there. The A minor, and then to the D2 over F sharp. Is that what you call that?
Yeah, that's the Open Studio Moo.
Yeah, Open Studio Moo, exactly. And so folks know what this is. There's a lot of different places you can put it. This is with the 2nd or the 9th on top. Sometimes we'll look at it, or rather like that with the 5th on top. But this kind of has...
It's a D2 over F sharp. It is it's acting like a secondary dominant going to our G minor. And again, these are all things based off of those same harmonic warm-ups that I've been teaching. Yeah. Those kind of things. These are all this, but reverse engineered. So, we're pulling back, going from F or from C to F, and you can get there obviously by just going right there. Yep. Or you can start putting common chords before, or you can start putting a 2 before that 5. Now let's back it up, a 5 of that 2 to that 5, and then the last one we do even more.
Right. Yes. So just on that, the 4th one too. What's cool is the 5 of the 5 of the 2 to the 5 to the 4 instead of actually going down to it. We're doing that move, but that gives it that the leading tone, as opposed to being higher up or in the middle or something, goes right to the bass, which is a change from what you've been doing.
The 3 ways that we can get to any chord and this gives us options, is from the secondary dominant, which is a 4th below or 5th above.
Yeah.
It's really all about the
5 and a 5.
The root movement, right?
Yeah.
So you can either do that from the 4th below, and that's a dominant chord. So that would be like a D7.
Yeah.
Or you could do what we did here, which is from the half step below, is like the same D chord, but the third is in the bass.
Yeah.
Or you can do what we're going to talk about next, which is the tritone sub of the D, which is A flat, which comes from a half step above.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more ways that are common that we can do, but these three are sort of the main three that you can use.
Yeah, and I mean, these can be really foundational things for folks when you're just vamping, when you're trying to connect going to somewhere.
Or if you just want a different way of doing the same thing. 3, 6, 2, 5, using these different ways, it's like you can come up with so many possibilities,
yeah, and I think,
combinations.
yeah, and I think what really worked, what you did, if you look at the continuity and the melodic flow of your root movement. So the first one, you know, you're doing. Second one. Third one. Fourth. Right? And then the last one.
I still go up to the C, I think.
And that's kind of a bet, because I know a lot of people were like, why did you do the why is the tritone sub there? To me, and maybe this isn't even a thing for you, but to me it works there because it's a better way to get to that D. The same way before, instead of going down to the D, you went to the F sharp because that's a better way to get to the G. And they're not the only way, but it's a cool way. So now it's like, because you got this big jump down, and instead of, you basically would be repeating it again, the A, right? You'd be like,
exactly. And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Why?
Because it sounded bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Not as good. It just didn't sound as good. Yeah.
That's right.
Because the variety and the unexpected jumps. And by the way, this melody that you were just playing, the root note melody.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. One of the greatest teachers I ever had is this great pianist named Armin Danilian. He's in New York. He was an ear training instructor at the New School. He might still be, but he's an amazing ear training instructor, amazing pianist.
Yeah.
And he always preached that the bass movement is really second to the melody, it's another melody.
Right.
You're making another melody. And so this is why having all these different ways, not just secondary dominants, not just tritone subs, but a few different ways to get different places on these dominant chords with different root movements is so important, because with variety, you can create these new melodies. And it helps your listener to, everything sounds familiar, right? This sounds familiar because it has all of these similar tones, right? But the variety of having that third in the bass, or this, right? The difference is subtle, but the variety is what really makes it stick.
Absolutely.
And pop.
And I think I would just say that even adding on to that, what you're playing leading up to that makes that, and then kind of maybe refines your decision as to which one you're going to use at different times. That's when it really kind of starts to sparkle and become its own little thing, that's fun to listen to. So cool. Well, this is awesome. Why don't we answer a few questions? How does that sound?
Yeah.
Because you've answered all of mine. Thank you.
Are you good? Do you want to play the last phrase there? I don't know if you.
No, that one's fine.
Okay, great.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I do actually. Hold up. Okay, there we go.
And then we can approach that secondary dominant from its secondary dominant.
Yeah. This is the fourth. Oh no, that's
I want to just, before we know
Can
it,
I just talk about that
Yeah.
little thing on the D7? That's actually split between the hands. And I don't know exactly what I did. Did I do like an A minor triad in my right hand?
Yes, A minor 7 triad.
A minor 7 triad.
I mean A minor 7.
Oh, I did that?
Yeah.
So I'm giving like a D7 sus vibe there.
Exactly.
And then I knew I was hearing that, but I can't reach that with my right hand, so I grabbed it between my hands.
But you kept that's interesting. See, that's all one hand. That's how he has it on here.
I think so. Like, I think I might. Yeah.
No, but you played exactly. Well, okay, this was a little different before you were. This time you go down.
Right.
instead of-
And so I wanted to highlight that D7 sus there, right? Because it's another thing that you can do to add variety, especially to dominant chords at any time. Even if we just did like the first one, where we had the C7, or I guess that's the second one. Adding a sus to that,
Yeah.
like it adds adds that just little bit extra tension, that little bit extra time before you hit straight up dominant. It's so handy. Sus chords are more than just maiden voyage. They're really used for, again, adding an extra layer of tension on your dominant chords. Super handy.
Yeah, and they're great. On this last one, so you've got now, what's cool is like visually you can see this, but like you're getting more kind of eighth note and even some 16th note movement.
Right, it gets busier and busier and busier.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's really the effect. I mean, when you see it on the page, you're kind of like, it's almost like a visualizer of that. But the idea is that there's a matching, I think, with as the, not really, well, you do have some substitutions as the harmonic sophistication gets a little bit tighter and tenser, that the movement does. But you've got a lot of really cool sort of inner voice melodies.
Cool.
Yeah.
A couple of good questions here. First of all, Maestro, welcome. This is Maestro's first Open Studio
The
Live.
Maestro's in the house, Mr. Ron Carter.
I'm not sure if it's Maestro Ron Carter. But
Okay,
it's someone
that's all right.
named Maestro. Miles says, any tips for similar chords to the tritone sub when you don't want to play the butter chord? I have one, Miles, but it might be even buttery or more buttery than the tritone sub. So if we're going to this, that D7, I think here I'm playing an E flat dominant 7 sharp 11, right?
Yeah.
That's the tritone
13.
sub. So if you want that E flat or D sharp, you could actually use an Open Studio move, like a B add 2 over D sharp to that D, before the D.
All right.
Like the mu works from below and above.
Right.
The one from above is a little bit more intense, but
Yep.
it works really well.
Right. Dean said, Adam, throw down some high ridge. Maybe we'll do that on the out, going out.
Adam, throw down some high ridge. Dean, what do you know about high ridge? Come on now.
Yeah, I was just going to. Not exactly on topic. What about the 2-5-1 sharp 1 diminished back to the 2 from jazz chords for beginners?
I mean, that's a great example of, yeah, that's it. That sharp 1 diminished is what? That's just a secondary dominant with the third and the bass. That's
5 of the 2, right?
It's like an A7 flat 9 with the third and the bass, essentially. That's what all those diminished approaches are. They're all in the same family of the dominants. That's why Barry Harris talks about the family of dominants. They're all a minor third away because it's all based on the diminished chord.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the stuff, I think maybe that tying in with what Adam did on this, in that situation, 1 to the 1 diminished, like, typically we'd be like very basic Bob, or maybe you're going, like, I like to think about those. Well, you could go Open Studio move to the 2 to like the minor 11 like you did. But if you're on that 1 sharp 1 diminished, I like to think about all the same things that you play over that A7 alter or E flat 13 sharp 11.
You know what's really interesting, Peter, is we have a very rigid thought of a diminished chord and scale in modern music. But I was looking at the original version for the Repertoire Club at Open Studio Pro of Have You Met Miss Jones?
Yep.
So the original second chord is actually F sharp diminished.
Right.
However, you can hear a half diminished. So the diminished is just that diminished triad, and anything that happens above it is mostly, especially in older music, diatonic. So you could have a D on top of it, an E on top of it, but that E flat wasn't really a part of what they were playing. You heard like a, which is, that's like a D9 chord with
5 of the 2.
The 5 of the 2. So this idea that it's all, and that idea really kind of forced me to think like, oh, they're not thinking diminished scale. They're thinking this diminished chord, and any notes that fill in are diatonic.
Yeah.
So you would use a G, you would use a B flat, you would use an E.
And that can actually, playing like that, I find, can kind of pull you out of that really rigid sort of,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the diminished scale, and it's definitely its own sound.
Yeah, but it's weird because it has tension, but does it really have tension the way we normally play it?
Not the way we normally play it. But I experiment, especially with like this sharp 1 diminished, experiment with like the hinging method, whereas instead of thinking of it as from a scale, it's just this F sharp diminished chord, and any notes that you can sub or add would be from this F major scale, the key that we're in.
Yeah.
It actually it makes so much more sense and sounds so much cleaner especially in these functional harmony situations than just like, straight up.
Well, and yeah, for sure.
Which sounds killing, but that might not be appropriate in all situations.
Right. And it's so following up on that, F major and then F half diminished if you think about that, and then play to the way Herbie loved to do it and others with up to the ninth. That almost becomes same thing like we were saying before, where it's like D7 and any kind of alterations or upper extension alterations. So in this case, it would be like D7, D9, maybe even D13 with a sharp 11 over F sharp, then to the G minor.
Possibilities are endless. Yeah. Vambrance has a great question. Vambrance music started off by any tips for writing. Vambrace. Sorry. This will be the last question because we have another live coming up for Open Studio members.
Yeah, do we have Open Studio members in the house?
I don't see anybody.
No, I know we must.
I know Tortog's here.
I'm about to be stepping in for Adam, at least along with Adam, if not by myself, on a listening session that starts in 15 minutes over.
I just want to address, MM says there is no formula, just explore. That ultimately is true, MM, but sometimes formulas can be great jumping off points. You don't have to hold them as gospel, but they can be interesting little sparks for your imagination. So as long as you don't hold on to the formulas too tight, they can be helpful. But I agree, the real value in them is the exploration.
Yeah, and I mean, they can be the foundation of exploration too. It doesn't have to be either or, and then that can be a pliable thing that can go back and forth in terms of more exploration, less foundation, more foundation, just a little bit of exploration. Sometimes just foundation. Sometimes maybe just exploration, but like finding that balance in there, especially when you're playing the same types of things,
Let's see here. So, I wanted to just address Vambrace. Any tips for writing great melodies? And then they updated that question to, sorry, I asked the wrong question. What separates a good melody from a great one? So Vambrace, for me, if you listen to, you could really pick any of your favorite melodies. Melodies are all so different. I think what really sets them apart is how good they are at leading your ear somewhere and then surprising you with some kind of delightful happening.
Right.
It has to be just like any other form of art. A melody is the most pure form of, I think, of tonal music. Outside of any harmony or anything like that, a melody has to have some kind of direction that feels familiar to our hearts, but also like delights our personality in the zeitgeist that we're living in. So, and that doesn't actually, you can have a heartbreaking melody in any generation. I'm not saying it's like stand-up comedy or whatever, where it's like kind of super specific to what's happening in the zeitgeist.
Right.
But it does matter what's happening around music at that time, I feel like melodies that are happening now are just way different than they were in the early 20th century or whatever of the things we're talking about here. Not better or worse, just different from a different context.
Right.
To me, what makes a great melody is the familiarity and the surprise and delight, that combination. So, Harold Arlen. There's a pattern here. Right, so this sort of pattern of what's happening, just the first surprise is the first line. That doesn't happen very often, this big octave jump. But then there's this pattern that sort of reinforces this again and again. I think that's important.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Adam, for
thank you, Peter. This is really fun, man.
Yeah,
I'm flattered that you wanted to talk
me.
about it.
Yeah, no, this is cool stuff. We'll have a link below. Oh, we've got one already to the short if you want to check it out in a little bit closer. And thank you guys, Open Studio members. We're going to be starting in about 10 minutes over on Zoom for the listening session. The Meters, I got a new LP that just came in the mail from New Orleans.
The Meters are still making LPs?
No, they're not, but somebody's making them still.
Right.
Shout out George Porter,
hey,
Zigaboo Modaless, Leo, the whole gang.
Stretch is here, Vineyard Worker. Those are Open Studio Pro members. What's up, everybody?
Yeah. All right, well, we'll do this again soon.
All right.
Smash that like button and please subscribe if you're enjoying the live. And until next time,
you'll hear it.
Okay. Ooh. Oh, play it. Look at it.